So many different people to be that it's strange, so strange. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. You got to pick up every stitch. Must be the season of the witch. Must be the season of the
Okay, so with that, hi and welcome back to the Hive of Media Host. As always, Brian Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Harsey.
Oh, hi, I'm back.
CHEWIE Darso.
Ahoy, hoy.
Special guests today are Samantha Garrison.
Hello.
And Hunter Johnson.
What up?
Ryan cannot be with us today. He tragically died at sea while looking for the lost city of Atlantis in the Bermuda Triangle. Sorry, Ryan, you will be missed.
Oh, it happens
would-
every time.
Why did
Every
he
time.
even think that was the appropriate place to
I know,
look?
he was clearly in the wrong area
He
of
just
sea.
does not understand currents.
Two words.
And that's
I smell a conspiracy.
Two words.
Yeah.
Google Maps.
yeah,
I mean, clearly we've seen a trident in the lower Indian Ocean, okay?
yeah, and nope, Bermuda Triangle, and then he had to go and die. So
Yeah.
thanks a lot, Ryan.
A trident, eh?
So really quick before we get started, where have you been doing? Sam, why don't you go first? Where can people find you online?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at SammyJane613. Is this where I also talk about the column?
Column, podcast.
Okay,
all of
cool.
it.
I do a podcast called Superhero Sampler with Elliot Campos. It comes out every Friday morning, and then every Thursday you can read my column if you're the chick flick at filmtakeout.com.
Cool.
Ooh, you're gonna have to give me your Twitter again at some point. I'm gonna follow you.
Sweet.
You're going to follow during the episode and
Yep.
we'll feel it.
Hunter, how about you?
I'm on the socials at LA HorrorCom. You can check out lahorror.com for updates on projects that I'm working on. And yeah. Got a movie, To Jennifer, coming out in August.
Where people can be able to find that movie?
It'll be on pay-per-view, streaming services, and DVD in September. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to pitch the movie at all, or you want people to just go out and find that preview?
Just check it out. It's it's a lot of fun. It's nasty.
Yeah, the trailer's online, right?
Nasty
Yeah, the
fun.
trailer's online.
Okay.
You can find basically all the info that's available on it at lahorror.com.
Cool. All right, then we'll move into where have you been doing. I will go first because, like I said earlier, Ryan tragically died at sea. I will take up the mantle of talking about comics. I've been reading DC Rebirth like a madman, like anything that has the DC Rebirth masthead on it, I've been reading. And the one that I'll talk about this week, because everyone's talking about The Flash, which was very good, I'll talk about Aquaman, because Aquaman never gets any love, mostly because he doesn't
Gets
deserve
lower
it.
Speedos.
Yeah, he does, but he's been kind of lame for a long time, and that's fine. But this book was actually, I ended up really, really liking it. Like it was really well written. It did a good job talking about his relationship with Mira and really what the world of both DC and what the world outside of DC thinks of Aquaman. And if you're into comics in any way, I highly recommend picking it up. Actually, pick up any and all of the DC Rebirth right now. The only one that was kind of meh was Batman, which is
too bad. 'cause
very,
you were
very
really
hard
excited
to
about
say.
that one.
I know. I was saving that one for last, and then I read it. I'm like, oh. But Detective Comics was great.
It did not keep you on the toilet.
No,
you
it
got
did
off
not.
real quick.
Yep. It was not a full toilet read.
I understand that completely.
That's actually a really good review system for comics. How long were you on the toilet?
How much of a toilet read was it?
Did I finish the book of the toilet? It was a good read, because that means I wasn't doing the business the whole time. Business was completed, but I had to keep reading. Batman did not keep me on the toilet.
That's too
The
bad.
grossest review system of all time.
and now our future review system from
Yeah.
now on.
Totally.
Did it keep you on the toilet? It kept me on the toilet.
Yeah.
All right, next.
For my where I've been doing, I did it last night.
And next person.
Saw The Conjuring 2 and really enjoyed it. Loved it. Not quite as good as the first Conjuring, in my opinion. I know Hunter disagrees, but
Well, it's because I just didn't like the first one at all.
yeah. But that's what I mean. He didn't agree with me on the first one.
Oh, right.
But for like what I enjoy in horror, like these movies are where it's at essentially. Like they have really good characters in intense situations, and I think what really carries me through it is just I really love I forgot their last name now.
The Warrens?
The Warrens. I love their love. they're like this romance in these horror film situations, and it's beautifully done.
Well, I mean, it's Patrick Wilson and Vera
Farmiga?
Is that how you pronounce it?
I'm going with that one.
Okay, nice. But their chemistry together.
Their chemistry is
phenomenal.
fantastic. I mean, I love Patrick Wilson in just about everything he does. In this film, it had a couple more like hokey moments than the first one did. But I definitely I think that's one of the reasons why I was so dead tired last night. Is it was definitely tense. Like I definitely had adrenaline while watching it. And I also had to call out some dick bad teenager who kept texting
Doing the Lord's work.
Dude, yeah.
He started texting during the climax of the film, and I just about smacked him across the face.
I will say this, not in defense of him, but to explain what he was doing. He was a bit of a puss, and these movies are scary. Every time something scary happened on the screen, he pulled out his phone.
And I didn't.
So it was his
notice
way
that
of not looking at the screen. But by doing that, he annoyed the fuck out of
And
us.
I'm
I was sitting
like-
next to a couple where every time something scary happened, the girl was like, and the guy was like, "Shut up, it's fine. We're gonna watch the movie." And that one I could excuse because she's just like, "Hold me," and he's like, "All right."
It was a kind of a murmury crowd, but it's true. There was a lot of tense moments, so that
Yeah.
people had to have some levity, I guess.
I kind of like that in horror
But
movies. I like the crackle.
if you're the type of person
the
that has
audience.
to have levity by looking at your phone, just watch horror films at home. Don't
Agreed.
do it at a theater.
It's a dick move.
Yeah.
Or
Leave-
at
turn
work
the phone
like
off.
I do.
Yeah. Next.
Okay, so I'm like trying to catch up with all my movie goingness, but I just watched Deadpool for the first time last night. And
Better late than never.
Yeah, better late than never. totally. But I maybe it was overhyped for me, but I appreciated it, and I appreciated that it took the superhero genre to a new direction. But I don't know, it just didn't quite do it for me. And I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan. But maybe it was just maybe I saw it.
It could have
way
been
too
hyped
after the
up for
hype.
you too
Yeah,
much.
Yeah.
I could see.
I
if
had
you-
that towards Napoleon Dynamite, but by the time I saw it, I was just like, oof,
Did you
really?
at least like Baby Hand?
Yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable. It was fun, but I don't know. Maybe honestly, I was missing some more of the classic superhero action that I thought it was lacking. I understand they took it in a totally different direction, but I kind of wanted some more badass fight scenes,
Well,
and it seemed like the action was pretty contained.
I think it was that, and it was that they really wanted to make it look like a full budgeted superhero film without having the full budget of a superhero film.
Oh, that's
I
a really
really
interesting
appreciated that
point.
he made fun of it when
Yeah.
when you started the actual like superhero fight, and he jumps down and be like, that's really bad for your knees.
Yeah, she's gonna do the superhero pose.
Yeah, it was quality. I like Ryan Reynolds. He's
And
a
just
hottie.
when we do the podcast on this movie,
Not next week, the week after that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the masturbation unicorn for a reasonable price.
Nice.
Cool.
John, where have you been doing?
So we took my daughter Karina to see a movie for the first time.
How'd that go?
It went really well.
Yeah. Nice.
We wanted to go to a movie that we weren't too invested in, and one that if she were to freak out, we could leave and not feel too bad about it.
Good call.
So we went to see Angry Birds.
Nice.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it kept her attention, and the movie itself was kind of, but the last 20 minutes pay off on the concept of Angry Birds. So if you want a movie, it's like, I want an Angry Birds movie, those last 20 minutes are actually pretty hilarious. Because it's basically they get the slingshot out and then they go to town busting the pigs.
So,
Nice.
But
Cool.
You're saying I could wait till it was streaming somewhere?
Yes,
I do
you
not
can.
need to rent it or waste a DVD on Netflix.
Right. It has that problem that a lot of, I feel like, non-Disney cartoons have where they just have not worked the story enough to put themes in anywhere in a consistent manner. So it's all pop culture jokes and the latest pop culture song or a couple songs in there, and then nonsensical plot confusion, and then it gets to the payoff. And that's a lot of cartoons that aren't Disney, and that's
Movies by committee.
yeah. And that's really what it was until that last 20 minutes. So
Sam, what about you? Where have you been doing?
I watched. Trying to decide which one I want to talk about. Give me a second. You know what? I watched High Rise this week.
Okay.
It was awesome. It's everything I wanted Snowpiercer to be. In that,
I like Snowpiercer.
I like Snowpiercer a lot, but I think High Rise was a little bit more specific in that
Okay.
it deals with sort of middle class warfare and the disappearance of the middle class, isolation by way of technology, and it's got Tom Hiddleston's ass, which is superior to Chris Evans' ass. Fight me.
Whoa.
Whoa.
this is Civil War II.
I really enjoyed it, and it's like dirty. It's just a filthy pulp movie. I really wasn't expecting it because it looks so polished in the trailers. I wasn't
Isn't it,
expecting that sort of.
isn't that Ben
grindiness.
Wheatley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
He's-
never seen any of his other movies, so it was a big surprise.
Oh,
And in the middle of the movie, there's this great Portishead covers ABBA's SOS. I was listening. I'm like, this is a really cool song. And then I was like, oh, that's my karaoke jam. I was so excited. So I really enjoyed it. I can't recommend it enough. I know it's been kind of divisive among people that I've talked to about it, but I want more people to watch it so I can talk about it more because it's really great.
It's still one of those movies that I am not watching the trailer for, so I still know nothing about it.
Go
So,
in that way. I
yeah.
think that's better. I mean, I'm sorry that I've told you a little bit about it, but
I'm only half listening.
Okay.
I'm really waiting for you to be done talking so we can
okay.
move on.
I'm
so
sorry.
I don't
I guess
spoil
I
anything for
should have.
myself.
I guess I should have talked about Christian Mingle instead, which I sat through on Netflix.
All right, so we ready to get into this thing for today? Ready to
This
break
thing.
into it?
Da Vinci.
The thing is the witch, or the vitch, if you want to
The
say the
Vivitch.
title as it is spelled.
Yeah.
The vivitch.
I
Is
love
there
that choice
anything-
in the title, by the way.
I
That's
totally
great.
agree with you.
That's
I think
great.
it looks great, but when I first saw it, I'm like, the vitch? That's weird.
It's so
Chekhov?
twatty. It's so twatty though when people post that, like when they're talking about the movie online.
Oh,
It's
it
like,
is,
Just
it is.
use the damn W.
Yeah.
Hashtag
Yeah.
the Vitch.
Yeah.
Check my Twitter feed.
Because in my
Can someone
brain,
steal
it
that
immediately
username?
goes, instead of
Steal that username.
carrying over to witch, it carries over to bitch.
Yeah.
Which bitch?
Which bitch? The witch is the bitch.
The Vivid bitch.
The Vivivitch bitch. Which?
Well, we're done with this joke.
Wicca Wicca Witch.
Nope. Now we're done with it. So
This
sadly,
movie is way more serious than what we're saying right now.
well, you got to be happy about it. Otherwise, we're just going to be depressed this whole episode.
yeah.
Of just like, wow, this was sad.
This whole conversation is just gonna be jokes trying to like bring levity to the
Yeah,
whole
this
Bring
thing.
movie
levity to
has
the levity
very
list
little
movie.
levity.
Yeah, very little. I'd almost go with none.
Except
Yeah.
I do have one friend on Facebook that said, "Oh, I wasn't expecting such a happy ending," and I'm not. I don't think he was being sarcastic.
Oh, it was a happy ending.
No, it wasn't.
It was kinda
We'll
great.
we'll get into the ending.
I
trust
don't
me.
think it was
We're-
happy at
We're
all.
going that way.
Ooh.
But first, the numbers. It does not say how much the movie cost. I'm guessing very little. Beyond just the fact that I think they built most of their sets.
Oh, definitely.
And then the costumes were all costumes. So I know they put money into it. I just don't think it was a whole bunch. But then it ended up making $38 million, which for a first-time director, first-time writer, former production designer, I think that's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, baller.
The review for today comes from the only reason why I'm doing this one, because I usually like to go for those solid 0 out of 10 reviews for the ones I disagree with. This guy gave it a 2 out of 10.
Wow.
But his
I want to know his
name
two.
on Metacritic is so good, I just have to use it. So this review comes to us from Poster Nutbag.
Well,
An
I guess
authority on film.
he knows what he knows
Say no
what
more.
he is.
Say no more. That's I get
I
where
like
he's going.
to post, and I'm a nutbag.
Yep.
That's my name.
So I decided to go see this movie after seeing the rave reviews, with some referring to this as the next Exorcist or Shining. Not even close. Those movies were both scary and entertaining. I had to keep elbowing my wife, and she kept falling asleep. The opening scene was promising, and after that, I kept hoping for more, but was utterly disappointed throughout. Halfway through the movie, there is another small scene that offered some glittering hope, and then that was it. The acting, backdrop, cinematography, and costumes were all great, but the story just wasn't there. After the credits rolled, I heard someone in the audience scream, "Yes, thank God it's over." 2 out of 10.
Wow, that's harsh.
I feel like they watched a different movie.
I feel like they were expecting a worse movie.
Yeah, like they were expecting something like Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters.
Yeah.
Well,
or just the hype. I think some people
it's-
hyped it too much.
Well, it's one of those movies where it's kind of like, and then we'll get into the breakdown here, but I just want to mention it. It's in that new like category of horror where it's not really new, but it's like say like The Babadook or It Follows or any of these where it's like they're horror movies, but not just solely based on jump scares. They're horror in the way of like this is going to scare you without making you jump out of your seat, and
They're more movie than horror.
exactly, yeah, which
is
is
just-
wonderful and why I'm
Yeah.
really into horror right now. It's great to see, and not that I don't not want to see jump scares. We just saw The Conjuring 2 last night, which was a fuckload of those. They're a blast. They're a ride, but
But not bad jump scares. Not
well, no,
like,
I mean James Wan is really, really good at it.
yeah.
But that's
I
one of
specifically hate jump scare movies, really, because they'd be like, music. I'm
I
it's just
get so
annoying.
embarrassed because I'll actually scream in a theater. Like,
Nice.
I've done it more than it's really embarrassing.
My wife does it like at home, like watching TV.
Oh no!
I do it while watching the horror movie VR trailers. Those scare the shit out of
Oh
me.
man, VR horror games are just the worst for that.
I don't think I'll be able to play them, as
Yeah.
I found out just by watching like these VR horror trailers, and I'm just sitting in my kitchen going, "Bah!"
I think I'll be okay.
Even the ones with like terrible graphics that look
Yep.
cartoony, they scare me just because of the so immersive experience of
I
those.
can't handle it. And I swear enough playing Dark Souls. I don't need my neighbors to hear me swear even more.
Oh, he's gaming again.
Either gaming or murdering someone in his house.
Yeah.
But it's time for the breakdown. Breakdown. Coming to you this week from Hunter Johnson.
Cool.
So, Hunter, as I'm sure you saw, you have 30 seconds to explain everything in the movie.
Got
The downside is if you do it wrong, I get to make fun of you.
Okay.
The upside is if you do it right, you get to make fun of me.
Awesome.
Which I think last week I cut out Eric's because Eric took a long time to get to his insult. So last week's insult was I looked like an Irish Santa Claus coming to you from Eric Steffens.
That was a
Damn
pretty
it.
good one.
You took
It
mine.
was,
That's
but
not really an insult, though.
no, neither am I. And it's a very good like Brian level insult of just like I'm gonna make a comment that's kind of funny and hope
Okay.
you're insulted by it.
I'm mildly perturbed.
John, you ready?
Yeah, I'm going.
Hunter, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go, 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 go.
All right, so the witch, this Puritan family leaves their hometown. They're like, peace, y'all. They go out and live in the woods and build this place. And then before you know it, the witch makes herself known. She snatches the baby, and things don't go well for the baby. So the family is all like, torn, and they don't know what's going on. And then, crazy shit starts happening. The witch kind of appears. Then they meet this Black Phillip, this black goat that they have, and it starts talking to the two little twins. And then Thomas and the main girl is like, dude, like there's a witch out in the woods. And then shit gets crazy, and nobody has a happy ending.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'd say that was a success. Have at it.
Brian, you're a good dude, man. I can't make fun of you, bro. I don't know. I guess your hair's kind of messed up.
It is kind of messed up.
It's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
You got like a
Calling
Dragon
him
Ball
a
Z
dude
thing
bro
going
would
Yeah,
on.
there we
actually
go.
be an insult.
A dude, bro?
Yeah.
Dude, bro?
Because you're definitely not a. I mean, he said dude and then he said bro. So
Okay.
like, you're definitely not a dude bro.
Here, how about this? Hey, Brian, you kind of look like you need a Smirnoff Ice.
That might be the best insult we've had to date.
It's cold, bro. It's cold.
It's cold like a Smirnoff
I
Ice.
feel bad about that.
Oh. You're gonna
I
get a
feel
really
guilty.
terrible hangover.
Oh, man. I'm a little sad right now. Let's move into the movie. So I want to start with where this movie starts, which I think will be interesting. And I really like... I want to talk about kind of like the family and the surroundings of the family and really... do we agree with them, disagree with them? Because I think that was kind of like... I think that's, for me, the most interesting start of the movie is the family in general. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the whole basis is that they're part of a colony in very like pre-America sort of situation. And so they were part of the Puritan wave coming to America to avoid persecution in Europe. And then they ended up getting persecuted by their own town because they're preaching in a way that the town doesn't like, which is exactly what they left Europe for. So they're getting kicked out of two places essentially in their span of their lifetime.
Well, yeah, but it's also because, I mean, he's very convinced. I mean, it's the dad is where we'll move into, I think, immediately after this. But like, as the family, like he really just kind of goes, no, I'm right. Well, if you're not agreeing to the way of our town, then we're going to kick the lot of you out. And he's like, okay.
Well, that's because that's the specific reason he left Europe. That's why Puritans left Europe. Was
No,
to
I
be able to
understand.
worship the way they wanted. So then he didn't get what he wanted out of that town. So yeah, he's gonna be like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna still do what I want."
Yeah, that's true.
Why do we think they got kicked out? I mean,
We
beyond,
we
like-
never get the version
Yeah,
of
it's so
religion that they're
interesting.
preaching that the town got mad about.
It's so interesting because the only hint that we get is that they think he's like a false prophet, and then he talks with his wife about never lying. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming there was some sort of like radical disagreement in how something was handled. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
really
it-
curious.
We
I
didn't
think it
get
has
that.
to be something like that. Like, it's got to be one of those things where, like, he's like, no, I know the word of God because I've read this or this or this, and this is the way that it is. And, like, no, not necessarily. And he just will never agree with them.
Yeah. It's kind of nice that we didn't get the exposition because I feel like it would have weighted down the beginning too much. Where I liked that we just jumped straight into the isolation.
I just love like weird religious sectarianism, so I was really fascinated. I
Yeah.
was like, I want to hang out with these Puritans some more. What are
Well-
what's their deal?
It did feel like it could have played like I found myself wishing that there had been more of that, just to at least play into the whole aspect of the witch, because I felt like there was no foundation for the witch, just all the witchcraft type stuff happening. For me, it lacked a foundation. It didn't ruin the experience for me, but I was like, what? Why even have it? Like, we get that they're being kicked out, but you could just show them being kicked out instead of that opening scene.
I like that they left it vague because it makes my mind wonder how the witch played into it and what his version of, Christianity or what he thought is correct. I mean, how much sin was in that? How much did he self-destruct his own family, and maybe they were being called unknowingly out into these woods, and the witch might have been in play. Maybe she hangs out around this town, she might have been playing with this to get them out there.
And then I have the somewhat larger question pertaining to the family is it the witch, or is the witch working as a tool for the devil? Was the devil like, I need another witch and I'm going to get that girl, and to do that crafts the whole thing to get the family out into the field?
That's
my interpretation.
That's how I felt about it, yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the story of Job, which starts as effectively a bet between Satan and God.
Yeah.
Like, I can make this man not believe in you. And that's kind of how it felt, like, not having the details. It's like, here's a guy that's so devout, he's willing to just like go into the woods, into this barren land, and
has the whole God will provide.
Yeah.
Do you know how to farm? Nope. Know how to hunt? Not at all. God will provide. But he'll provide you the tools. You need to know how to use them, dude.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your family's going to starve.
And the movie just starts immediately with the non-vocalized emotions of Thomasin, where you could tell the whole time she's just like, no, this is not what I want. She's just like pure panic in her eyes, but she has no choice.
What teenage girl wants to be stuck with only her family?
Well, yeah. And
to be kicked out of anything she's ever really known. Like,
after being uprooted from her life in England.
Which she reminisces about, that everything, she hasn't been able to make any choices her entire life.
Well, no, but first off, how many women did back in that day? And
None.
especially teenage girls back in that, like nothing whatsoever.
None. But that's where you can immediately connect with her, because you can immediately see all of these super relatable emotions in her face.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's interesting, too, because we see it from the mom later, but like that beaten down version of those emotions.
Yeah, where she's constantly sacrificed and she felt like she was doing the right thing the whole time.
And then he sells her cup. Fuck her.
Sounded like a nice cup.
Yeah,
I know, I felt really bad for her.
It was a silver cup.
When we did see it, it was exquisite.
Did you see it?
No.
You see it in the vision that she has. When she sees her kid again, yeah. It's like she sees the cup. She sees everything she ever wanted.
Right,
I was like, damn, that's a nice cup.
Now I understand everything in this movie.
All ambiguity gone.
Well,
it was definitely a you chose poorly
I don't know if we
cup.
want to jump off the cup and how important that actually is to
Sure,
the entire
I can jump
storyline.
around. That's fine.
Okay.
Jump around.
Well,
jump around.
The
up,
cup,
jump up, get down.
the cup by itself is like an inciting incident, because without the cup, the son wouldn't have gone into the woods. But maybe we should talk about the baby first. I'm sorry.
Sure. No, because you're right. The baby needs to be mentioned before any of this, because I mean, because the baby is really like it's not even like the inciting incident. It's really just that's what lets the audience know that I mean, if you want to be an optimist, you can, that they're all going to survive. But I think for me, like the fact that they not only kill a baby right in the beginning, but brutally kill a baby, grind up its bones, and then wipe its blood all over the witch's body. It's like, oh, so everyone's going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
they're
they
in
don't
an
stand a
incredibly
chance against
unsafe
this.
place.
And also, they should not have put the start of that in the trailer, because once I saw that, I was like, oh, this is a scene where the baby's going to, like, something's going to happen to the baby. Like,
yeah.
Again, I never watched the trailer.
Yeah,
for
no,
this one.
it's a very good case for not watching the trailers. People
Yeah.
do not read anything about this or watch it.
Yeah.
Well,
watch
or
the
don't
movie.
listen to this podcast.
Well, the good thing is, though, is that they iced the baby pretty quick in the movie. So even if you saw it in the trailer, like within the first 10 minutes of the movie, you know the baby's
The
gone.
baby's
Well, yeah.
really not the kid that we're concerned about. It's
No.
definitely
No.
Caleb.
It's Caleb and it's Thomasin. Like those are the ones
Yeah.
that like you have to be concerned about. The two twins can fuck off and die. They're the
Yeah.
most
The
horrifying
Twins are
little
creepy.
things.
Yeah.
No,
I don't like them.
They were.
So
annoying.
They were great. I hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
then-
I'd like to see Mercy and the little bear girl from Game of Thrones last week just go head to head. That would be a battle royale for the
Damn.
ages.
That would
Yeah.
be pretty intense.
With the baby getting kidnapped, it really brought in a lot of like Caleb's like emotional like distress, because beyond his sexuality that he only has the ability to look at his sister for, which is super creepy. But the baby was unbaptized because they were kicked out of the town before she gave birth. So then Caleb's freaking out, be like, does that mean my brother's in hell? Because he's dead, obviously.
And according to the religion, yep.
Yeah. So he's just like, after his father sells the cup and he buys traps, so then he goes out into the woods with his father to try to find pelts, which his father's a poor trapper apparently. Like, he's just not really good at anything other than chopping wood.
Yeah, that's his sexual frustration.
Maybe.
That's why he gets buried in it at the end.
Yep.
So then, yeah, Caleb is totally like freaking out about his own soul the whole time. And then he tries to be a man and go out and get the traps for his family. And then he loses his soul to the witch, where he freaks out, he gets lost in the woods, and then he gets claimed by her. And it's just the whole like concept of this whole film about how much control do you have over your sins and your soul and all this stuff. Like it's like hopeless. The entire situation is hopeless.
It's funny you say that though, because I mean, spoiler alert. I think that he's actually the only one that was saved. That doesn't lose his soul.
She
to
tries
the
to
witch.
claim his soul, and then you left with the feeling that maybe he was able to get saved with the weird speech he gives.
He was absolutely saved.
I
agree with, if you watch the behind the scenes thing on this, and we'll get to my favorite part of the behind the scenes in a little bit later. But the one thing that all the cast says, the only really redeemable person in the entire family is Caleb.
Totally.
And Caleb, he does have flaws, like his whole the little incestuous, but it's kind of one of those things where he's a growing boy.
He's literally nothing else to look at.
He has nothing else to look at, and he's just going, what is this boner in my pants, and are those boobs? And it's got to be weird for him. I totally understand, and I think if there was any other female around him, he would not be looking at his sister.
True that.
And I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm just saying that I think that is the case.
To his credit, too, when he was presented with a female that wasn't his sister, he didn't let the witch get to him.
Yeah.
Because he had, like, hot tits witch instead of old saggy witch come up to him, and he was just like, he's like, and then he comes back and starts doing the God thing. I was just like, oh, okay. So he's the only one that says no to temptation in this whole movie.
Well, he says yes, but I don't know how he gets out of it. Because he definitely, I mean, he kisses her.
Well, she kisses him. He's just kind of standing there looking
that was
really
like a
distraught.
statutory kiss.
It was a little creepy.
He definitely did not look into it.
I made the joke when we were watching it that as he's walking up there, he totally has this like, God, I hope you're not the Witch of the Woods. I really hope you're not the Witch of the Woods. There's no way you're the Witch of the Woods. And then as soon as he kisses her, it's like, it's the Witch of the Woods.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to say about Caleb? I feel like we kind of accidentally jumped into him, but it's totally worth it because he's... The one thing I will say about it is the actor, Harvey Scrimshaw, was fucking great.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
And hasn't really done anything before. Like, he's done a couple of things here and there, but really not anything big. This is his first major role. Amazing.
Yeah, that monologue is shivering.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, it is. It's probably one of the most intense scenes in the whole movie, and it's solely because of how he delivers it and how he performs it and writhing and his body language.
Like his body language and just every emotion he transitions between in that scene is so intense.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where the movie could have completely fallen apart at that one moment. Mm-hmm. Like all the rave reviews, all of us enjoying the film, all that could have gone away if he didn't sell that moment.
Yeah.
Because it would have just been cheesy. I mean, he fucking throws up an apple because he's been lying about an apple tree the whole time.
That's such a great visual too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's how you know it's the redemption. Like he doesn't accept the apple. He doesn't say yes to temptation. It's so great. I'm sorry. I just love this old timey
I didn't
religious.
think of that. That's cool. Yeah.
I love
this
it.
script is so well written. I didn't look up whether or not the director's actually religious or not.
I mean, he knows his religion. I
Well,
mean, whether or not he
definitely. That's
believes,
obvious.
I don't think it really matters because he definitely knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the dad a little bit because I really, really like the dad.
Just
He is my. I mean, so far the year, this is gonna be a tough one to beat. He is my favorite flawed character of the year so far, because he is so flawed, but he thinks he definitely
he's
means
the
well.
manifestation of pride.
Yep.
Like I feel like each character in this movie actually represents one of the sins. Caleb gets redeemed through which his was maybe deceit because
Or
of the
lust.
lying or lust.
But that's the thing too. Daddy is like the biggest liar too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Oh,
just
yeah.
a lying
Huge
liar.
liar.
He doesn't feel that
Throws
he's
his-
lying, but it's like the prideful lying where he feels like he's telling
he gets
the truth.
his kid
still.
on it. He throws his daughter
Yeah.
under the bus. He lies
Oh, yeah.
to his wife. He is all the sins. Except maybe gluttony. I don't know.
Yeah, he's pretty skinny.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
gluttony.
There's
Which
no gluttony in this
I
movie.
read.
Maybe that crow. It was kind of gluttonous.
It was a fat rabbit. I mean,
I
read
love
a thing
Murder
about
Bunny.
him preparing for this movie, and he lost a ton of weight for it. Like
Yeah.
he lost I don't remember if it was 35 or 55, but a whole bunch of weight.
I mean, 35 pounds is nothing to sneeze at.
He
That's
was
a
not a
tough thing
very-
to lose for a role.
He was not a very big man in general when we've seen him in other things.
No.
And then I read a little article about the goat, which we'll get into, but because of that, he ended up on painkillers after the 4th day of filming because he was severely injured. And I kind of think that might have helped his performance a little bit because he definitely looked in pain the whole time.
Oh yeah, the goat fucked him up. But I thought my favorite thing about the dad is I think everyone did. Don't get me wrong. I think everyone did a great job with the old time dialogue, which they pulled from letters and writings and that sort of stuff to help write the script. But I feel like the dad sold it the best.
He's got a great voice.
He does. His voice for it, and like it really felt. I mean, it felt natural for all of them, which is why it's tough for me to say how one could do it better than the other. But there's something about the way the dad spoke that it really felt like when the town said that he's like a false prophet. I could totally see how that guy could go that way. Like it feels like he's like, listen to my voice. I need to be heard. And he always, every time he talks, he has that sort of like
would garner attention.
Yeah, every time he's talking to anyone, it's like, listen to me now. And the way that he does that and the way the actor sells that it's fucking great. Especially as you find out more and more that he's just a goddamn liar.
And a lot of people were, a lot of criticism that I heard is that you couldn't understand what he was saying just because of the way he spoke and the language. But I thought it really sold it, and I didn't lose anything when I
I never
couldn't
had any
understand
trouble
stuff.
understanding him.
I mean, it gets kind of hairy at points, like especially when he's breaking down. But I thought that it was like just made it more disturbing that he's kind of this lost man that it's all just spewing out of him, and even if you miss some of it helped it. I don't know. I thought he was fantastic.
Oh yeah, I never. There was a couple moments here and there I had a little bit of problem like understanding it the first time. My second time through, I didn't have a single problem.
Yeah.
And it could, and I honestly think it's one of those movies that really benefits from multiple watching.
Yeah,
Yes.
I watched it recently after seeing it in theaters, and the second viewing is so much better. I'm gonna go rent it again tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
It's funny how much foreshadowing is in a movie that doesn't feel like it has a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
You don't really notice it the first time through, which is really, in my opinion, the best version of foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hate it when it's like, oh, that's going to come back later.
yeah.
And this one does a great job of having those moments without really beating you over the head with it.
Yeah.
Not just like taking the camera to the side and be like, look at this knife.
This knife is going to be
With this knife
important.
later.
That cup is going to come back.
Yeah.
It's going to mean doom. See that
Yeah.
bunny?
Yeah, if
he
the
means
op-
something.
If the opening of the movie was the mom in the cart going, at least I have my father's cup.
There's bad foreshadowing.
That's going to be a funny parody.
Oh, boy. John, you didn't really say anything about the dad. Do you have anything to say about him?
I liked him the best out of it. I found everyone else a little tough to get into, at least for a while in the beginning.
Even Thomason?
Yeah, her voice seemed very overacted for me in the
I didn't
beginning.
think so.
And then I got into it, but when he talked, he had such a commanding voice.
Yeah.
And it felt right for the time. Like, I don't know, from him from moment zero, it felt right for him. Everyone, it took me a little bit of time to adjust.
None of them were faking their accents, right? They're all from England or Scotland, right?
I'm not sure.
That
pretty sure.
I don't know about Thomason.
I don't know about Thomason. I know Kate Dickey is, but
But I think by the end, everyone's all firing on the same cylinders. They're all just going like to 11.
No, you've only seen it once, right?
I've only seen it once.
I'd be
so-
interested if you watch it again if you still have that same feeling, because I think they're all there the whole time, and it could just be that since he has that commanding voice, you just attach yourself to it right away, as opposed to everyone else where you didn't really expect it.
Yeah, and I do wonder if a lot of my complaints will go away with the second viewing, because there was a lot of that just missed for me. But I only saw it once. I've only seen it once, and it was just on on the TV, the small screen, and
I don't think this is a movie that needs the big screen by any means. It helps, but I don't think it needs it.
Yeah, for sure.
Sam, did you have anything you wanted to say about the dad in particular?
Not about the dad, no.
Well,
I
who do
think
you want
we
to talk about?
covered it. Can we talk about the little twins?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh,
The creepy
God.
little
I
twin.
love hearing the old timey language come out of the kid mouths. It's hilarious.
And they did it. I mean,
They were
obviously,
amazing.
they gave the girl more lines than the boy, which makes me. I mean, if you watch again, I
She's a
mentioned
better
this,
actress.
She's
The
a better
boy
actress,
wasn't
and
that
she's
strong.
very, very well spoken. If you listen to her being interviewed, like she makes me look like a bumbling idiot.
She
It
was
fits with the theme of the movie too.
Totally.
You
absolutely,
have
yeah.
women at different phases of their life. One is very outspoken, one is slowly losing her voice, and one is completely defeated.
Right.
So it works that the little girl is a complete shit.
Yeah.
she's a little liar too.
I love too that when you first meet them with when you first see them with the goat, they're just like it's twins, so that's already weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there's a goat, and they're just going ba ba ba, like talking
Singing
in
and
gibberish to
dancing.
the goat and singing that weird Satan song. I'm like, how are these parents allowing this? Like, I grew up in a fairly evangelical community. If we've been singing songs about the devil, I would have gotten time out. And my parents were Puritans, so
And I like her scene with Thomason.
yes,
Where she says, "I'm the witch," and then there's that struggle and that
That's-
fear. Like she goes instantly from like mocking to fear, and she's as a kid, she's a really good actress.
Not even as a kid. She's just a good actress.
Yeah,
Like, that
yeah.
doesn't need the clarifier of
No.
like as a child. She's one of the best in the movie. She's fantastic.
It'd be interesting to see her career. So
It
we
will be.
we'll actually be able to watch her grow up.
Yeah.
I
The
also love their little coats.
God, I love the costume for them specifically. I love it because it's that old time way of thinking of I'm going to make you the biggest coat possible so you can wear it for 5 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
So they're
Yep.
wearing these huge clunky things because they have to wear them for the next 5 years of their life, which is awesome.
yeah.
You mentioned it quickly, John. I want to jump on that. The scene by the river where she says that.
Oh,
When
yeah.
I was talking about foreshadowing earlier. That is the scene.
Yep.
That
yeah.
speech Thomason gives her, she does everything in that speech. Like every single thing she lists off in there, she eventually does.
When I watched that scene again for the second time, what I envision is the witch jumping from person to person, because when it starts in the twins saying, Black Phillip says this and the witch is out there, it seems like they're possessed
Yeah.
by this witch, and Thomason's get freaked out, and then you can literally see a shift where it does a 180 and Thomason spins it back on them, and
Yeah.
like they completely reverse, and I can just see the witch laughing, with these marionette strings, like making
Oh, yeah.
manipulating
have
these people
influence
and
on 'em.
hopping, and you can even see it if you pretend the witch is in every scene, which she is.
Yep.
You can see her jump from person to person and just get in their head a little bit and turn some stuff, and then get in the next person's head and turn some stuff, and then watch them self-destruct.
Oh yeah.
That scene, you can see it. It's crazy.
I love that it's a movie that's cut and structured like a paranoid thriller and not like a monster horror film.
Oh yeah.
It's so interesting because you could have this whole movie without the witch and it would still work.
I mean,
Yeah.
the witch is barely in it. It's
Yeah.
really just
But when
there.
she is, it's scary.
So
Oh, yeah.
Part of me
scary.
that
Oh
doesn't
my
even want
gosh.
to call this a horror film.
It's definitely a
Oh,
horror.
it's definitely.
I mean,
a
it's
horror
but
film.
there's
Come
I
on.
think it's more of a suspense thriller, really, in my mind.
I think
There's a
this is
murder
like what
bunny
horror movies
and-
are.
yeah.
Like they need to be. Like this is like
Yeah.
the epitome of what horror movies can be. Like that's by taking away horror, you're doing something mean to horror movies.
I'm not. I mean, but when most people think horror, when you say it's a horror film, they think jump scares,
Which is what-
this
yeah.
film's not. So that's why I feel like I need to separate it in some way.
Well, I think that like comparing it to The Shining, while I mean obviously The Shining's a masterpiece and time will tell if this movie holds up in that kind of way, but I think that that's a fair analogy, just in the sense of the slow burn, the constant dread,
Yeah.
the fact that it's watching a train wreck in slow motion, that
Yeah.
it's not your traditional horror movie, and honestly that's probably why a lot of people didn't like it, because they go in and they're expecting this jump scare, like ultra freaky shit, but really this is like a horror movie for people that are patient and like to enjoy horror movies.
Kind of like
And
the Omen or something where it
Yeah,
takes
like
some
The
time.
Omen,
And
you
a
know,
lot of the scary stuff happens off screen and it makes it that much scarier.
Yeah, and it's performance based. It's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
performance based. Like there's no cheap scares. Like it's all just on the characters and the actors.
So you have to give so much props to the director and the editor
Absolutely.
in the ability to create the sense of like slow dread.
Yes.
And there's no levity in this movie.
Oh,
Like, I don't know
we
if
haven't said
said
his name yet. It's Robert Eggers is the director.
First time- first
who's the
feature.
editor? Can you look that up really fast?
I can look it up really quick. Yeah.
Because they have to work together. Like that's such an important relationship to create a tone.
Yeah.
And there's so many movies that lose it. Like you'll get a hokey part of the film, or just a moment where you're like, haha, it's not that bad, kids.
Well,
no,
and in-
this movie
This is
doesn't have
always
any of
that
those
bad
spots.
and usually
It's-
worse.
It's going to be terrible.
with comedy and horror, that editing is really the key. In those two genres, it's almost more important than any other thing. Just because of if you bust a timing on any of it, it doesn't work.
yeah.
I think back to that first sequence with the baby and how that was cut and how it lingers just long enough to make you really uncomfortable. Like it's basically these shot after shot after shot of just these kind of vignettes of what the witch is doing. And I don't remember the scene being as long as it was when I saw it in theaters, maybe because I was just so freaked out. But watching it again, I was like, wow, they held it just long enough and a little longer to make you really uncomfortable. And then,
Yeah.
and
It
then
was
it's great.
excruciating watching that at work. I thought someone was gonna come up behind me and be like, "Why the fuck are you watching this at work?"
Yeah.
Are you watching a baby get ground into bits right
And-
now?
At the animation studio, yeah.
Well, and you already know the baby's going to be taken. That's obvious.
Yeah.
From it, but they let it not happen right away.
And
Like-
then the subtlety of the getaway of the witch, where you see one piece of weed, one little brush, and then one tree in the background just shake a little.
Yeah.
Like a spirit just whisked away.
Can we
love
talk
it.
about the witch's fly vision? That was amazing when she's on her broomstick and they're just holding on it and it's like so close. They're like totally cheating.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. That was like it was so cool
Just
because
a silhouette going into
Yeah.
the moon.
yeah, and it was
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
great,
That
'cause it
shot
was
was
so
unbelievable.
creepy.
And the music too, building up in there. I mean, the music in this movie is another key thing for any slow burn horror movie. The
Yeah.
music is fucking amazing.
I wrote the
And-
note in my notes that you gotta love movies that deserve best score and will never see the nomination.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yep.
And it's this just eerie choral thing, and that moon shot is when it reaches its crescendo, and then at the end of the movie it does again.
so creepy.
And like just the pacing, the score, the performances, the design, the costumes, everything in this movie. I can't find a place where I had a beef with it. I mean, there's maybe one or two of the scares that were a little not quite on point. Like
The only
but-
one for me that and by the way, it's Louise Ford is the editor, and this is her second feature.
She
ever.
deserves props.
Holy
wow,
cow.
good for
Yeah,
her.
she
Ladies
was
are
an
with it.
assistant editor on a lot of really big things, but this is her second time being the lead editor.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
she
Which is
killed it.
She's like-
she destroyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the moments that I kind of went, the only moment in the movie, and I fault it more so based on my love for horror. So like as much of a sucker for like jump scares and that sort of things that I can be, it's still like one of those moments where it's like I think The Babadook is one of the most flawless horror movies made in a long time. But that moment with it on the ceiling, I kind of go,
Yeah.
nah. And for me, this one, when the witch is at was it the goat or the cow or whatever?
Yeah.
That was, and she just turned around and did like the witch cackle.
When she's sucking on the teat
See,
of the goat or whatever.
The
Yeah,
only
that's
reason why I didn't like it was because it was the only time where the witch jumped into the classical like witch that we all expect from like.
Oh, but that was great though. That was the witch cackle. I mean, you have to have
I
that in a movie
loved
called The
it.
Witch.
see, I didn't need it.
I
Oh,
liked
it
the
was so
kid.
good, and the camera just pops in just a little bit on her face, and there's no edit, there's no trickiness in there.
Yeah.
It's just like the camera slowly moves in, and when she turns, it just pops in on her face.
It was
so
definitely
well
at
done.
odds with the movie's pacing. Like it felt
Yeah,
like
I think that's why I didn't like it because
And because
the
of the
only
slow
part
burn,
that felt weird to me.
it almost gave us, and this is weird to say, but it almost gave us what we expected, like you said, and I think I fault it for that. Like that moment
Because the
was
movie
like
is so good at not giving us what we expected,
right.
and giving you things you'd never expected. That was the
But-
one time where I kind of like, well, I expect to see a witch at some point, and then you do.
But the great thing about that scene, and the reason you can justify the witch laughing, is because they're so vulnerable. They're stuck in there with her, and she's in there knowing that she can do whatever she wants.
It's kind of like the moment in the movie where you realize the witch is we're done fucking with you now. Now it's over.
the witch has control
Yeah.
of the
Okay.
situation
I,
at that point.
I could see that. I can see that argument.
the one
I
part.
also think she's looking at Black Phillip, right? So it's probably like a moment where she's like stoked because, hey, boss, I completed my assignment.
Was she's
Yeah,
sucking
I
on
could
the.
see that.
There is that. I mean, I kind of like that. It was like a
She-
nice. I
Was
don't
she
know.
looking at Black Phillip?
He was there.
yeah.
He's hanging out. He's
Yeah.
about to go like murder the dad.
Within
and they're
that-
just like, oh fuck yeah.
Within that same moment, there was the crow pecking at the mother. That was also, it felt quick. Like just those whole kind of groupings of shots together felt just out of pace.
See,
and I think that
the crow pecking at the mother, I thought, was one of the most powerful visual things beyond grinding up the baby. In the
I
whole
feel like
movie.
it was, but maybe it wasn't enough.
It was definitely enough.
Yeah, I don't think I
It was
needed
like
more
a
than
culmination of all the animal horror too. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things about this movie is every creature in the forest is against them.
And the other great thing back in that moment is it cuts from the witch laughing to the mom laughing.
Yeah.
It goes her laughing to mom laughing with the crow. So it's almost as if the witch is in the mom, obviously possessing her.
Yep.
And it's kind of she's mirroring what the witch is doing, which is
God.
really nice.
Yeah.
Because
See-
the witch was feeding and the mother was
Being
trying to feed.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I don't like that scene at all.
The one jump scare that I had a little beef with was the hand with when
when
Caleb?
gets
when he's getting kissed and then the hand pops in.
that was
the
very
only one I
much a
felt
Sam
was
Raimi
little
moment
cheap.
in a not Sam Raimi film.
Yeah, like I think it would have been almost creepier to just leave them kissing and just leave the
Yeah,
scene
because
there.
we knew
then
she
you
was
know,
bad.
you
don't
it's
Yeah.
need
witch.
a second cue.
That was the only one that I kind of was like, okay.
That one, I mean, you made the comment before we started recording that there was like 20-some producers on this.
Yeah.
That one felt to me like one of those producer moments of like, you
Yeah.
got to have a jump scare or something.
Get
like
the
that.
jump scare there,
You gotta
and
do,
it was, and
yeah.
the music cue is there.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where like you kind of have to forgive it a little bit. Like,
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's just like if you don't have at least one or two of those, then you're losing a huge chunk of audience.
The
Yeah.
scariest moment though, it's not really a jump scare, is I think when you see when Black Phillip puts his hand on her shoulder.
Oh my gosh, which I missed.
I
the
cried
first time I watched it.
I
missed
just
that.
love
Too
the
much.
clank of his boots. If we're going to go into that.
No, let's talk about the ending because I feel like that'll be a good place to move into this thing, and then we can talk about Thomason and anybody else that we missed. But the ending, I think, is probably the most important thing to talk about with the entirety of the film. And the thing I want to mention first before we get into it is if for some reason you've listened to this and it hasn't been spoiled enough for you, this would be your spoiler warning, which I don't ever give to you. But if you have just listening for the fun of it and you don't want to have the actual punch of this movie ruined for you, turn us off now and come back to us after you finish the movie. All right, bye. And for everybody else, the moment when the goat talks or has spoken through was... For me, it is one of the biggest like master strokes of like horror ever.
Yeah.
Because for first viewing, you're like, nah, no, it can't be. And then it is.
It is one of those things where it has been done so well, where you feel so beaten down with Thomason. Like you've just seen everyone in her family get murdered. They killed the kids off screen, which really makes me terrified of what happened to those poor twins.
Yeah.
But you're listening to her, she's like, I want to hear Black Phillip talk, and you're like, I don't know if they're actually going to do this. Like that might be one step too far, and they do it, and it's not.
I think they do it in such a way too because you never see him, but there's a shift in the light over her right shoulder. Some like
well, you
devil's on her
see him
back,
move
like-
around her.
yeah, and then you
he's
see
there.
that
And you see his
gloved
feet, don't
hand.
you?
You see the clank
You
of his
you
feet.
see him,
And
Yeah.
then you see the
he's very hidden, but
the
you see
light
him.
on his jacket. Like I assume he's dressed kind of like a pirate because you see the light bouncing up the
I
leather.
thought it was
of
more
his
like a
jacket.
medieval knight, is what
Yeah.
I
Something
thought.
like
it's-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because in the first time I watched it, I missed that. I don't know
Really?
how I missed it. I did
I
not
don't know
see
either.
him. And the second time, when all of a sudden he was there, it was like, holy fuck, like that's the devil right there.
Yeah.
Like
That voice.
in the voice,
Yeah.
the sound was
Now that
great.
would that's one area where you can't get that wrong.
Nope.
Because
no.
There was
no.
probably a lot of filtering, a lot of different versions of that voice in the edit room.
maybe they just got a really good voice actor for that.
Well, they definitely had some
look-
sort of like unnatural mixing going on there. That wasn't just one dude's
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
although if it was, guys better watch out. He's probably Satan.
and Black Phillip too, just in general as a horror villain
Yeah.
is, I mean, up there. Like he's
Oh.
terrifying as a
Oh,
goat and as a person. Like
As the person is what, the person is what really scares me. The
Yeah.
goat, it does such a great job of like. I've watched the trailer since seeing the movie, and when you watch it, they really, really hit you over the head with the goat's going to be scary.
Yeah.
And I really wish they hadn't done that because
Yep.
going into it not knowing that, when they make the turn of like, why are they talking to the goat, and then it's like, oh shit, the goat's actually a thing, and then going all the way to the end of the film where the goat talks, it's like, oh fuck, like this
Yeah.
thing is like, not only has the witch been in every single scene because she has been, Black Phillip's been overseeing everything.
yeah. Yep.
And like that
He's
makes
just
it
been watching them.
Yeah, that makes it that much more scary.
And do they ever state where Black Phillip came from?
Nope.
They just found him out in the woods is what I'm assuming, because I don't think they left the town with him.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because they kind of have a jump in time where they leave the town and then the house is half built. So you have to assume a couple months or whatever has gone by. So I wonder if Black Phillip just moseyed on out of the woods. And
I
said,
always
"Hey, what up?"
assumed
You know?
that they've been in the woods for about 6 months because she
Yeah.
looked rather pregnant at the beginning of the
Yeah.
film, and the baby doesn't look more than like a month or two
Yeah.
before he gets taken.
Yeah, I could see that.
I was so fascinated by The Goat by Philip, and I looked up this really fun article on The Hollywood Reporter, actually, and it talked about how the goat's name is actually Charlie. They did go through quite a few casting sessions to specifically find the creepiest goat they could get.
Good job.
They did good.
And it's really funny to read that article because the director hates the goat.
And the
Like-
actors hate the goat.
Yeah.
And everyone hates
Really?
the goat.
No, but really specifically, the director and the father hated the goat because the goat apparently was incredibly not cooperative the whole film. He said in the article he credits his editor for making it look like the goat could actually perform adequately, and the goat actually did headbutt the father, which is the reason he was on painkillers, because it separated one of his tendons in his gut.
Ooh.
And that was before the actual, like, real, like, fight scene. Like, he just randomly headbutted him on set. So when they actually had to do the fight scene between the father and Black Phillip, they got a puppet, so he didn't have to get headbutted again.
Wow.
Man.
And the director just legitimately hates the goat. It said in the article that he gets actually frustrated that so many people love him the most from the film, because he's like, really, that fucker? Like, that was an actual quote.
That's
So next
awesome.
week's guest is Philip the Goat.
Charlie the goat.
For the breakdown, he
Bunny
just
is
kills
my
us all.
favorite,
Yeah.
For the record.
So jumping back into the ending, the one we've mentioned that Black Phillip shows up, that she signs the devil's book, gives up her soul. Now this is where Hunter, I think, agrees with your friend that it's a happy ending, because she goes and joins a witch coven.
As happy as this type of movie can end, yeah.
I think it's the exact opposite. I think that this girl has been stripped down. She's been stripped completely of her humanity, almost being forced. She's forced into a survival situation where that is her sin there. She's never willing to give up herself. She's always the survivalist. She kills her mother. She lets all this happen. But then she's just put in this desperate situation that she's a 14-year-old girl in the middle of nowhere. She has no family. She has no one to help her. So literally the only thing that she feels she can do to survive is give in to the devil. That's not a happy.
It's better
But
than her mom's situation.
She has no
where her mom
choices.
devoted her life to her husband and God and got stuck with a dead baby
Both
out in the
situations
woods.
of not being able to have any control over your own life.
Those witches had
But
control.
now she has control.
Maybe.
It's
Not-
like you're saying
How
at the
do you
beginning.
say that she has control?
She
She
can fly
flies up
around.
into a
She
tree.
can eat
because
live
she's being
deliciously.
forced to serve the
No,
devil.
no.
That's not
forced.
control.
So then,
No.
how do
He
you
said he
work
was going
that
to guide
ending?
her hand, not shove it on the page.
No, guide her hand to give over her soul. That's not.
He asked her. He said.
But then
he
she-
said, "Do
That's
you
like
want to
being-
see the world?"
That's
And
like
she was
when-
like,
Yeah,
That's
do you
like
want to
when
see
we
the world?
watch-
Do you want to butter?
That's like watching Always Sunny, the boat episode, and he'd be like, "They're going to give in to me because of the implications." That's exactly what's going on.
It
It's
was
not
either
really a choice.
She could have walked out of the woods just fine. No one liked her family anyway. They would have been like, "Oh, poor
She would've
Thomas.
died.
Come on."
well,
she would have died because I think they would have killed her.
Yeah,
The alternative
she
was
was
death.
going
The alternative,
to die.
she goes back to her hometown and says, "My family's dead." They say, "All right, well, you're a witch. Kill her."
Yeah.
Yeah,
like-
the
She's
ult-
a witch
the
no
ult-
matter what. So why not be a magical one?
This is not a happy witch situation. These witches are not.
She was
glowing.
very happy at the
None
end.
of them actually had pretty dresses.
She was free.
They were not wearing clothes.
Yeah, she was
That's
finally
awesome.
free. That's
If-
how I interpret
yeah.
it. Is that she finally has escaped this this life that, you even said at the beginning of the movie, she looks so unhappy and she's forced to leave her town and forced to leave her home, and now she can finally do whatever she wants. She can see the world.
I
She
don't
can-
think that's what's going to happen. I think that's all pure
well,
manipulation.
Sure, it's pure. Absolutely, you're totally
None
right.
of that's happy to me.
You're totally right. But she seemed happy.
Can we call it bittersweet?
Bittersweet.
Because
She seemed-
she's very happy with the situation she knows nothing about.
Yes,
when she's
yes.
laughing, she's also crying. Like, she'll laugh and then she'll be like, "Roar." And it's like a big conflict of emotions of like, sure, this could be great, but everything is terrible. Like, it's,
Yeah, that's bittersweet.
Yeah.
to me, that's just bitter.
Well, no, I agree with you because
That's
when
like
I
when
watched
you
out of
take
it, I did not think it was
heroin
a
and
happy
think that
ending.
heroin's gonna make your life better. It's not.
Whoa. No.
I should clarify. All terrible, like unhappy endings are really happy for me. So that's a personal thing. So that may be where I'm reading that.
For me, I think it's a terrible, like terribly sad ending that she's okay with. I think she at this point I don't think because here's the reason why I don't think it's a sad ending particularly because if it was a sad ending she would have given in and let herself die. She didn't want to die. All she wanted at the end of the day was to live, and that's what she got.
But that's why Caleb is the best character because he doesn't give in and he accepts his death and can go up to heaven.
I
And
don't
she
disagree
doesn't do
with
that.
you.
Yeah,
Caleb
I
is
agree.
great, but I think that's where she went
She's
wrong.
going to hell.
Yeah, but
Sure.
she
It's gonna
got
take
to live.
600 years, but
Yeah.
It does bring up two interesting ascensions essentially, because Caleb ascends in his own way, and then so does she.
yeah.
And
It's just different. She got what she wanted, which was to live at any cost.
All right, so I guess that's happy.
It's happy for her. It's sad for the
She's gonna
audience.
really
going,
regret
you
that
You
decision."
might have made a bad choice.
I've made a terrible mistake.
But she did get to have a sweet bonfire in the woods with a bunch of naked chicks.
Happy ending.
Epic.
All right, dude, bro.
Hashtag epic rave.
Yeah.
They had some fun moves. They were on something like
Yeah.
Satan.
Oh yeah.
They're high
They
on
were
Satan.
High on Satan.
So the very last thing I want to talk about in this movie, which we've been kind of jumping around at the whole time, is the actual actress for Thomason. There's really, I mean, there's not much more to say that we haven't already said, but she really is, for me now, one of the most exciting actresses to watch. She
I
was
agree.
so unbelievably good in this movie.
She's incredibly expressive without saying any emotions. The exact same reason I loved Ryan Gosling in Drive, where you can have an entire conversation just on her face.
Yeah.
She was great.
She's just fantastic. And I love looking at like photos from the premiere where it's like her and Kate Dickens, I think, or Kate Dickey, where they're laughing and hugging each other. It's like, oh, you guys did not like each other at all in the movie. You were so horrible to each other. But I thought, like, yeah, the girl, she just gave one of the best performances I've seen in any horror movie or any movie in general in a long time. And it's exactly what you said. She is so good at delivering lines without having to speak, which is, it's an excellent quality for an actor, but still very difficult for even some of the best actors.
I mean,
out
yeah,
there.
there's lots of good actors that still can't really do that.
Yeah, it's very tough. And she nailed it.
The cool thing about her is kind of playing back to the ending is that you never really know which way she's going to turn throughout the whole movie until the end. She does a really good job of, being this great protagonist that is at least somewhat interested or subconsciously interested in this witch, but you're not really sure if she's going to go fully off the dark side or if she's going to confront it herself.
See, now, maybe it's because I never saw a trailer or anything about that, but when I first started watching this movie, I immediately assumed she was going to go for the witch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
That
like
she's-
from
Really?
the very get-go. I don't know what it was, but there's something about her. I'm like, I think it was that, like, the instinct to survive that I was talking about, where I'm like, she will do anything to survive. And for some reason, I mean, maybe it could be the poster, because it's seen the poster so many times, as we mentioned earlier, where it's just basically her naked walking away from the camera.
Yeah.
When I saw the title, The Witch, I always assumed it was talking about her.
Well, I think it is her.
Yeah, no, it totally is. But
I
that's
thought they'd play more into the historical context where so many girls were accused of being witches and
Right.
they weren't real.
They were really just going through puberty.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That was the only sort of qualm I had with this movie. Not like a hesitation, but it's just
Yeah.
weird that this was something that like actually killed people in historical context,
Yeah.
like being like not a witch. And so to turn it into kind of this crazy horror film was a little weird. I don't know, but I guess it's
I mean, she's going through puberty too.
it's
in the
been
film.
hundreds of years,
even-
so I
yeah.
know.
And I think it would have been weirder if they had played more into the whole, like, the witch burning aspect of it. Like, they
Yeah.
mentioned it quickly, like, you need to tell me, like, when the dad, like, confronts her about it, you need
Dad
to
is
tell
going
me
to
if
turn
you're...
her over to get burned.
Well, yeah, but his
Yeah.
thing is, like, you need to tell me if you're a witch so that we can cleanse your soul before we burn you. Like, no matter what, you're going to die. Just let us pray for you first, and then we'll kill you. So at that point, she's like, still no.
And the dad is pretty much ready to kill all of his children in that one scene.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's a
Maybe
terrible
he
father.
needed to become a witch.
Yeah.
That would have made him feel better. He could just chop wood naked, do his heart's content.
He needed to live deliciously for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needed some butter and an apple.
But he would have felt real bad about it the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Is there anything else we want to hit on this movie? I mean, I feel we've talked about a lot of it. We didn't really talk much about the mama, and that she was great. Kate Dickey is fantastic.
Murder Bunny, Murder Bunny.
Murder Bunny's
I love
great.
Murder
The goat is
Bunny.
great. twins are horrible.
But
Great actors, but horrible, and I hate them.
I mean, I can't praise the atmosphere of this film enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything from like the costumes to
It's
sets.
all spot on, and it astounds me. Like, it makes it hard for me to even grasp my emotions to convey how much I love it, because so many movies will have something that's lacking. But everything in this film, to me, is just so meticulously put together and almost perfect that I'm a little bit in awe at it sometimes.
Yeah. It's one of those movies where like the hype for this movie was so high because it was like you'd read the reviews of like this was shown to Satanists and Satanists approve. And it's like what was the other one? Like it feels like a movie you shouldn't be watching. And I think all of those things, which are obviously inflated for the sake of marketing, but they wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't actually so well executed. Where it was definitely a period movie that while you're watching it doesn't feel like a period piece. Like if you're watching like a Keira Knightley movie, it's like, oh, I'm watching a period movie.
They're still dealing with problems that we all have today.
Yeah, it was still a relatable horror film while being set in the 1600s.
Yeah.
Totally.
When it was
very,
so
very tough
it
to
was
do.
so deeply immersive. It wasn't. I mean, it was you're living a day or a week with these people at the worst time of their lives.
Yeah, and they did such a good job selling that atmosphere where it never felt like I'm watching. I don't know how else to say it, but I didn't feel like I was watching a period film.
Yeah.
I was just watching a horror film that happened to take place in the 1600s, which I mean is a compliment. I know it's a weird way to state a compliment.
No,
but
it's, I mean, that's what is wonderful when you can relate so intensely with a character that's so separate from you.
not even speaking the same language, essentially.
The other thing that's interesting about it is it's a witch movie, which is, I think, a very undertapped
Oh, witches are hot right
genre
now. They're coming back.
in horror. Yeah, they're coming back thanks to this movie. Like,
Please don't remake The Craft. I know everyone was thinking about it.
yeah,
They're
I'm
making-
I'm stoked to see a really scary witch movie because there really
Yeah.
aren't that many like
Yeah.
classic scary witch movies, and this is definitely sets the bar.
Yeah,
really,
like
because
The
really
once
high.
Witches?
They're
The Witches is great.
The Witches is great.
The
and Blair
Witches
Witch Project
actually,
is
I
great,
did get
but,
scared. I mean, as a
As a
young
child,
I
yeah.
got really scared at that movie.
You know, there's not a lot of
As an
great witch
interesting
movies.
kind of companion to this movie, you should check out Scott Snyder's comic Witches.
Oh, yeah.
WYATC. Yeah. Weird
Good?
spelling and all. It is really good.
Nice.
But no, the one thing that I feel like we didn't really mention that much that we really should is the script is unbelievably great. The fact
yeah,
that they came up with a language for it, like they worked by pouring through old letters and old journal entries
Yeah.
and stuff like that to try to figure out how people spoke and then wrote a script out of that. Like,
And it doesn't seem weird.
no, it
Like-
works.
No, it doesn't.
And if you ever go back and try to read the quote-unquote confessions of the women during the Salem witch trials, the complexity of the lies that they're telling about them being witches and the things that they did to each other, it's just like, wow, they had an amazing like imagination. Like people have a hard time coming up with this shit now, and you're like,
It's so weird too because you can tell a lot of the time they're being led in question. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
probably
It's
led
just-
it, and so
it's
it's like,
so
wow, there's some
absurd,
dirty
the
ass
thing.
old men questioning these little girls.
Oh yeah. Quotes. Who wants to go first?
I'll go
my quote
first.
is when the devil comes up to her and asks her to sign the book, and she says, I can't write my name. And he's like, I will guide your hand. Because to me, that illustrates how I feel about the ending of she's not getting to make any of her own choices. Like
She chose.
She chose.
I don't,
She couldn't sign her own name.
Okay, you agree to disagree.
She definitely chose
Whatever.
because she could have died. She chose to live.
She wanted that butter.
She wanted.
She
that butter.
didn't get any butter. She got
got
into
the
the
butter.
woods. She didn't get any butter. She didn't get any dresses. It's
She-
all a lie.
She could have She could have magicked her up
Dude,
some butter.
Hot witch when she was making out with that little boy definitely
It
had
was
a
an
pretty
illusion.
dress.
It was a lie. All a lie.
We're all naked underneath our clothes. It
That's
doesn't
true.
matter if yeah. Come
I'm
on.
not.
You're
He's a never nude.
yeah, never knew.
That's how it works.
Gosh, I'd be so unhappy if you were actually a never nude.
Shh, you're ruining it. My quote is it's kind of like a trailer button sort of quote, but I really liked it. It's when he's hammering up all the kids in the shack. He's like, I hate all of my kids. I think they're all trying to kill me. I don't know what to do. So he hammers all in there, and they're like pleading with him not to. And all he can say to them is, think on your sins, and then walks away. That's a damn good,
nice.
just like, fuck you from the dad. Because he really can't say fuck you to his kids, but that's what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck the lot of you. I hate you all.
Similarly, when when Thomason's trying to convince her dad that she's not a witch, she tells him about the twins in Black Phillip, and he turns to the twins and he goes, "Did ye make some unholy bond with that goat?"
Yes, and he delivers it so straight. I love it. So
Very
good.
serious.
Things you never thought you'd have to ask your kids.
Wow. Yeah, good one.
Dear Daria, I asked this question today. It's a doozy.
The answer is yes.
For me, it was when when Black Phillip pretty much bores him through, and he's just like into the pile of wood. That goat, him ramming him, came out of nowhere for me. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I was watching the screen like I moved away from the mic, but really close. I was like, "What's going on here? This seems so quiet." Bam! I was like, "Oh God!" And then he just like we made similar sounds like
Yeah.
I
And
just
if
love
only
when he
he-
landed in the wood pile. It was
If he
so
hadn't
great.
been chopping so much wood, he might have lived.
downed
wood
by his
guy.
own sexual frustration. Damn it, theme.
All right, my quote is, "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?"
Man, ASMRs everywhere just went, oh.
That is the most popular line on the internet from this film.
Oh yeah,
It's
for
such
sure.
a good line.
It
It's
is.
such a good
It
line.
is.
And super creepy.
Yeah, it's haunting.
No one ever says the devil isn't creepy.
Well, that's true. That is kind of his job. So the review system for today is going to be movies with creepy animals.
I'll go first. The birds.
Good choice.
I mean, it still holds up to this day. I'm still creeped out by just gathering of birds out there. I'm like, that they're up to no good.
Cool. You took mine, you son of a bitch.
All right. I haven't rewatched this movie in years, mostly because it really made me uncomfortable as a child, and still thinking about it still does. Cujo.
God, I can't watch that movie.
Great.
That
book.
Saint Bernard just eating people. Still gives me like a little like chill in my spine.
I'm gonna go for An American Werewolf in London. Both because it is like a classic like horror trope, much like witches. Werewolves are a very classic horror trope. And this one, the animal that creeped me out was actually the werewolf in the end in London. The whole movie is so campy and fun, which this movie isn't. But for some reason, the image of the like when they finally get like the werewolf like walking through the city, for some reason when I was a kid and I saw this the first time, I was like, oh no. Like I just did not like actually watching it because they do such a good job showing it all off screen that as a kid I was a lot easier. Like if I don't see it, I'm not scared. And then the one time I saw it, I'm like, oh God, I don't like this. And this movie had that same moment when they kill the baby of just like, it's a horror film. I can handle horror films. Oh God, they're grinding up a baby.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this right now. And it's like I love those moments of just like, oh God.
Yeah, it's definitely a good litmus test to see if you're a psychopath or not. Because if you don't watch it, and you're like, oh God,
Yeah,
there's something wrong with
you don't have that moment of what?
Because I watch a lot of horror films, and I can withstand a lot, but there's that. And
Yeah.
then like the one scene in Bone Tomahawk.
I have not seen Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah,
yet.
Yeah.
I've only seen that scene. I was watching top 10 horror scenes, and it's all these. I'm like, oh, oh, this is a bad YouTube video.
I have one.
Go.
The Ghost in the Darkness, because it's a really
Ooh.
scary thing based in historical fact.
Yep.
Love that.
I hated visiting them at the Field Museum, but I was like drawn to it. But
They look so non-threatening in the museum.
Well, yeah, because
though.
they had that mange that made them maneless, so they could
Yeah.
actually move more silently to kill people, and they still don't quite
I thought
know
the
why.
actual lions were females.
Nope.
They just made them
No.
males. Oh,
No,
okay.
they were males, and they have like they still don't know why they did it, but there's a lot wrong with those lions, and they don't know if that's what caused them to like get that bloodlust. But so creepy. I like the movie, and it was a pretty scary.
It's a great movie.
adaptation.
I
Yeah.
still have never seen that movie.
It's quality.
That movie
It's a lot
actually
of fun.
has one
Yeah.
of my all-time favorite lines in any movie when Michael Douglas is just like, I don't really want to kill, but it's what I'm good at. So that's like the whole motivation for his character in that one scene.
Yeah, old co-host of the show, Nick Friedman, used to try to get me to watch that movie like monthly, and then I just kind of stopped wanting to watch it just as a way to spite him.
No, you should see it. I told you that too myself.
I
It's a
know.
really
You
good
hear that, Nick? He still hasn't seen it.
Still hasn't seen it.
You
Still-
should do a double feature with that and The Edge.
Oh, The Edge.
The Edge is like one of my
yes.
favorite movies of all
Yes.
I
time.
like The Edge. That's a good movie.
What one man can do another.
My creepy animal movie is The Omen.
Okay.
With the Rottweilers, and kind of similarly the devil's manifestation in an animal. And then even in The Omen 2, they use the crow, which is throwback to the witch or vice versa. But yeah, like I love when movies make the devil a character, and especially an animal, because you don't know, like they say God is everywhere. Well, the devil's everywhere too, if that's true. Like it's just it's creepy. It's creepy.
Like a fuzzy bunny.
Yeah, like a fuzzy bunny or a cute
Murder bunny.
Rottweiler.
With sharp teeth that go.
Murder bunny.
Murder bunny.
Okay, so it's going to be time for plugs, but stick around after plugs for the answer to this wonderful question. We now live in a time of any movie that does even remotely successful gets a sequel, so we get to name the sequel to The Witch. You can follow me on Twitter at YBRYANY, on Instagram at CensorLord. Censor is spelled with a Z. And then you can find After the Hype on Facebook, After the Hype. Twitter, ATH_podcast. And everywhere else just ATH podcast. Chewie?
You can follow me at CHEWIE9 on Twitter and Instagram. All one word and spelled out, no number.
Cool. Hunter?
Cool. Follow me on the socials at LAHorrorCom.
Cool.
Movie Gay John on most social networks.
Sammy Jane 613 on most social networks.
Cool. So the answer to the question of a sequel to The Witch, I will take witches off the table. No one can just call it witches. So mine will be called Witch 2, The Coven.
Let's go with Witch 2, Puberty's a Bitch.
I like that.
I'm going to do a spin-off. It'll be Devil Goat, The Rise of Black Phillip.
Okay.
Gonna inexplicably call it the Witch 5, but with a V, and the tagline is V for Vendetta.
Nice.
I'm going to do a spin-off that takes place in the village, but since M. Night Shyamalan already took that, I will call it the Commune, because that's how they referred to it.
Call it the Village.
The Village.
I like that. Okay, so thank you to Hunter and Sam for coming out today.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And bye.
Bye.